The Korvac research vessel Dominion's Edge hung in the void beyond the small blue planet's moon, its sensors sweeping across the third world from the local star. Commander Vex studied the holographic displays with barely concealed disdain, his scaled fingers drumming against the command console. Pathetic, he muttered, watching primitive metal cylinders launch themselves from the planet's surface on pillars of chemical fire. Look at this, Science Officer Moore. They still burn hydrocarbons to escape their own gravity well. Moore's compound eyes clicked as they focused on the data streams. Indeed, Commander. Atmospheric composition shows they haven't even learned to properly filter their own air. Carbon dioxide levels suggest they're poisoning their own environment. Their electromagnetic emissions are chaotic, no unified communication grid. The bridge crew of the Dominion's Edge shared knowing looks. In their 300-year expansion across the galaxy, the Korvac Empire had conquered 47 worlds. Each had fallen within days of first contact. This backwater planet wouldn't even qualify as a challenge. Run a deeper scan, Vex ordered. I want to know exactly how fragile these creatures are before we report back to the Fleet Command. The scanning beams penetrated Earth's atmosphere, cataloging everything from the humans' primitive cities to their laughably simple military installations. The results made the Korvac officers exchange amused clicks and hisses. They fight with projectile weapons, Moore reported, barely suppressing laughter. Actual chemical explosives and metal slugs. Their fastest aircraft barely exceed the speed of sound. Commander, their most advanced fusion devices are so primitive, they can barely sustain the reaction for microseconds. Vex activated the ship's communication array. Fleet Command, this is Dominion's Edge. We've completed our survey of the third planet. Recommendation: minimal invasion force required. The inhabitants possess no technology that could threaten even our scout vessels. Estimated conquest time, less than 1 planetary rotation. The response crackled through space. Confirmed, Dominions. Edge, you are hereby authorized to begin preliminary resource extraction. The Empire requires rare Earth elements and water. Resistance is not anticipated. As the Korvac ship moved closer to Earth, its crew prepared for what they assumed would be another effortless subjugation. They had studied human biology, fragile carbon-based life forms, with short lifespans and limited physical capabilities. Their weapons were crude, their armor non-existent by galactic standards, their unity fractured by countless tribal divisions. What the Korvac couldn't scan, couldn't measure, and couldn't comprehend was the one thing that had carried humanity. From caves to the stars in just 10,000 years, the absolute refusal to accept defeat. In underground bunkers across Earth, military leaders watched the alien ship approach. General Kane stood in the deepest command center beneath the Rockies, studying satellite feeds with his assembled staff. Unlike the Korvac, he didn't see humanity's weaknesses, he saw opportunities. They think we're primitive, he said quietly, watching the sleek alien vessel descend through the atmosphere. Good, let them keep thinking that right up until the moment we prove them wrong. Every great journey starts with a few brave explorers. Sci-fi stellar conflict is just beginning, and your support means everything. If you're hungry for HFY battles and tales of human valor against alien might, hit subscribe, it's free, and it helps us bring these front lines to you. The first Korvac energy beam struck the Pentagon at exactly 1400 hours Eastern Time. The building vaporized in a column of superheated plasma, leaving nothing but a glass crater where centuries of military planning had once resided. Around the world, similar strikes obliterated major military installations, government buildings, and communication hubs. But for every target they destroyed from orbit, 10 more disappeared underground. The Korvac had scanned for metal and energy signatures, but they hadn't accounted for human paranoia or the vast network of bunkers, tunnels, and hardened facilities that had been built during decades of Cold War fears. As Dominion's Edge settled into orbit above North America, Commander Vex allowed himself a satisfied grunt. Begin Phase 2. Deploy ground forces to secure the primary population centers. This species will serve adequately as laborers once they understand their new place in the Empire. The humans had other ideas. The Korvac dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere like mechanical meteors, their hulls gleaming with energy shields that deflected every primitive missile and cannon shell humanity could throw at them. Commander Vex watched from orbit as his ground forces established beachheads in New York, London, Tokyo, and Berlin simultaneously. The initial resistance was exactly what the Korvac expected: disorganized, desperate, and utterly futile. Human soldiers fired their chemical projectile weapons at Korvac battle armor, watching in horror as the bullets simply bounced away. Tank shells exploded harmlessly against personal energy shields. Even humanity's most advanced fighter jets were swatted from the sky like insects. "Resistance in Sector 7 has been neutralized," reported Ground Commander Zach from the ruins of what had once been Times Square. "The humans threw everything they had at us. It was almost pitifully easy." But 3 levels beneath the rubble of Manhattan, Dr. Lisa Park crouched over the remains of a Korvac energy weapon, her hands steady despite the explosions echoing through the abandoned subway tunnels. Around her, a mixed team of scientists, engineers, and soldiers worked by emergency lighting, studying every piece of alien technology they could recover. "The power source is completely foreign," she muttered, carefully extracting a crystalline component from the weapon's core. "But the electromagnetic principles, they're following the same physics we are. They just found a way to manipulate the quantum substrate more efficiently." Major Tom Rivers, the Special Forces officer assigned to protect the underground research team, peered over her shoulder. "English, Doc. Can we use this or not?" Lisa's eyes gleamed in the dim light. "Better than that. I think I can reverse engineer it. Give me 72 hours and access to the particle accelerator they haven't found yet." Above ground, the Korvac continued their systematic occupation, but they were beginning to encounter unexpected problems. Human resistance didn't collapse as predicted. Instead, it evolved. Crude booby traps gave way to sophisticated ambushes. Random attacks became coordinated strikes. Most disturbing of all, the humans seemed to be learning from every encounter. "Commander," Science Officer Moore reported, his usual confidence wavering, "we're seeing anomalous readings from several underground locations. The humans appear to be conducting high-energy experiments." Vex dismissed the concern with a wave of his clawed hand. "Desperate attempts at resistance. Their primitive science poses no threat to our technology." He couldn't have been more wrong. In facilities buried beneath mountains, ocean floors, and desert wastelands, humanity's greatest minds worked around the clock. They dissected captured Korvac equipment with the focused intensity of surgeons. They ran quantum simulations on supercomputers hidden in caves. They tested theoretical weapons in abandoned mines, pushing the boundaries of human science further in weeks than they had in decades. The breakthrough came simultaneously in 17 different locations. Dr. Park's team, beneath New York, was the first to achieve stable quantum field manipulation. But within hours, similar successes were reported from underground labs in Australia, Switzerland, and Siberia. The global scientific community, connected by quantum-encrypted communication networks the Korvac couldn't detect, shared every discovery instantly. "It's not magic," Lisa explained to the assembled resistance leaders via secure video link. "Their technology exploits quantum field fluctuations in ways we never considered, but the fundamental principles are sound. We can replicate it, and more importantly, we can improve on it." The first human-built energy weapon was crude compared to Korvac technology, but it worked. When Resistance Cell Alpha 7 ambushed a Korvac patrol in the ruins of Chicago, the aliens' personal shields failed for the first time since the invasion began. 3 Korvac soldiers fell to weapons that shouldn't have existed. The report reached Dominion's edge within minutes, and for the first time since arriving at Earth, Commander Vex felt a flicker of unease. How is this possible? Our intelligence indicated they were centuries away from energy weapon technology. Moore's compound eyes clicked nervously. "Perhaps we underestimated their adaptive capabilities, Commander. The humans appear to learn at an unprecedented rate." "Impossible," Vex snarled, but even as he spoke, more reports flooded in. Korvac patrols ambushed by weapons that cut through their armor. Communication relays destroyed by explosives that shouldn't have been able to penetrate their shielding. Most disturbing of all, humans were beginning to coordinate their attacks across vast distances. moving with a tactical sophistication that rivaled veteran military units. Deep beneath the Andes Mountains, General Kane studied tactical displays showing Korvac positions across 6 continents. Around him, the combined leadership of humanity's surviving military forces planned their next move with cold precision. "They made one crucial mistake," Kane said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. "They assumed that because we were primitive, we were stupid. They're about to learn the difference between technological advancement and evolutionary survival instinct. The war was about to change." The Korvac patrol moved through the ruins of downtown Seattle with characteristic arrogance, their energy weapons powered and ready, but their guard lowered by months of easy victories. They had learned to expect desperate ambushes from hiding humans, but nothing that could truly threaten their superior technology. The attack came from 6 directions simultaneously. Human soldiers emerged from sewers, rooftops, and ruined buildings, wielding weapons that hummed with the same deadly energy as Korvac armaments. But these weren't crude copies, they were improvements. Where Korvac weapons fired single energy bolts, human versions unleashed sustained beams. Where alien shields deflected traditional projectiles, human modifications punched through with focused quantum disruption. The first Korvac soldier fell within seconds, his personal shield overloaded by a sustained energy burst that Dr. Park's team had calculated specifically to overwhelm Korvac defensive systems. The second managed to return fire before a precisely aimed shot from above pierced his armor's weakest joint. The third never had a chance to understand what was happening. "Target neutralized," reported Captain Jack Stone, leading the Seattle Resistance Cell. "All alien technology secured. No human casualties." Similar reports flooded into underground command centers across the globe. In London, Korvac dropships were shot down by surface-to-air energy weapons built in abandoned tube stations. In Sydney, an entire alien ground base disappeared in a coordinated assault that left no survivors to report what had happened. Aboard Dominion's Edge, the bridge crew watched their tactical displays with growing alarm as red indicators representing lost contact with ground units spread across the planet's surface like a plague. "Impossible," Commander Vex repeated for the 100th time, but his voice now carried undertones of genuine fear. "Ground Commander Zach, report your status immediately." The response was filled with static and the sounds of energy weapons fire. "Commander ... we're under heavy attack. The humans have weapons that match our own. Our shields are failing. They're coordinating across the entire continent." The transmission cut to silence. Science Officer Moore's readings painted an even more disturbing picture. "Commander, we're detecting quantum field manipulations across 47 locations simultaneously. The humans aren't just copying our technology, they're innovating with it. Some of these energy signatures are beyond our current understanding." 3,000 miles away, in a laboratory carved from Antarctic ice, Dr. Park smiled as she watched her latest creation power up for the first time. The weapon she'd dubbed Thor's Hammer combined Korvac energy manipulation with human engineering principles, creating something neither species had achieved alone. The theoretical output reading suggested it could punch through the hull of a starship. "Time to field test our newest toy," she announced to her team. The weapon's first shot reached orbit in 3.7 seconds, striking Dominion's Edge's sensor array with pinpoint accuracy. Alarms screamed across the Korvac bridge as entire sections of their scanning equipment simply ceased to exist. "Damage report," Vex roared, his scaled hide rippling with stress patterns. "Forward sensor cluster destroyed," reported the tactical officer. "Energy signature suggests a focused particle beam with quantum enhancement." "Commander." That shot came from the planet's surface. For the first time in his military career, Vex felt true fear. The primitive species his empire had come to enslave was shooting back and hitting targets in orbit. "All units, immediate withdrawal to orbit," he commanded. "Prepare for bombardment pattern 7. We'll sterilize the entire planet's surface." But as Dominion's Edge began to climb toward higher orbit, the humans revealed their next surprise. Energy beams lanced up from 6 different continents, not randomly, but in perfect coordination. The shots converged on the Korvac ship's main engine cluster, overloading the fusion containment system and crippling their primary propulsion. Engine power at 20%, the engineering officer reported. We're trapped in low orbit, Commander. On the planet below, humanity's underground networks buzzed with coordinated activity. General Kane's voice reached every resistance cell simultaneously through quantum encrypted channels. All units, this is command. Phase 3 is now active. The enemy is wounded and vulnerable. Time to show them what happens when you underestimate the human spirit. Dr. Park's latest creation was already powering up for a second shot, but this time she wasn't aiming for equipment. This time, she was aiming for the ship's hull, and the reading suggested her weapon could punch clean through it. The prey had become the predator, and the Korvac Empire was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology, it was their absolute refusal to surrender. Combined with an innovative genius that could turn any setback into an opportunity for victory. Commander Vex stared at the tactical display, showing energy weapon signatures erupting across the planet like deadly flowers, and for the first time since the invasion began, he understood the truth. They hadn't conquered Earth, they had awakened it. The distress signal from Dominion's Edge reached the Korvac fleet, command after traveling through 17 light-years of space. Its message stark and impossible. The invasion of the primitive world had failed. Within hours, Admiral Krall's flagship, Imperial destroyer, led a battle fleet of 12 warships toward the Sol system, their crews eager to avenge what they assumed was a fluke victory by desperate primitives. They arrived to find Earth surrounded by a defensive grid that shouldn't have existed. By the Empire's scales, Admiral Krall breathed, studying the tactical display. Hundreds of energy signatures orbited the blue planet satellites, weapons platforms, and structures that radiated power levels rivaling Korvac military installations. How long were they stranded here? 47 days, Admiral, reported his tactical officer. But these readings suggest the humans have achieved technological advancement that should have taken centuries. The answer came from Dominion's Edge, limping in the planet's shadow with half its systems dark. Commander Vex's face appeared on the communication screen, his usually pristine scales scarred and his eyes haunted by defeat. Admiral, I must warn you, these humans are not what they appear to be. They adapt with unprecedented speed. They learn from every encounter. In 6 weeks, they've matched our technology and begun surpassing it in key areas. Krall's crest flared with dismissive anger. You were defeated by primitives, Vex. I will not repeat your failures. But even as the Admiral spoke, his sensors detected something that made his blood run cold. A massive energy signature was building on the planet's surface, not just one, but dozens, all coordinating their power levels in perfect synchronization. On Earth, humanity had spent every moment since crippling Dominion's Edge preparing for exactly this scenario. The global resistance had become a unified planetary defense force, with Dr. Park's quantum weapon designs being manufactured in underground facilities across 6 continents. But more than that, humanity had done something the Korvac had never seen before. They had shared everything, every breakthrough, every innovation, every tactical success was instantly transmitted to every other human facility through quantum communication networks that the aliens couldn't intercept or jam. Where the Korvac Empire hoarded technology among their ruling classes, humanity had democratized their newfound knowledge, turning 7 billion individuals into a single focused intellect dedicated to survival. All planetary defense stations. Report ready, announced General Kane from his command center buried 3 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean. Around him, the combined military leadership of Earth watched displays showing energy readings that would have been impossible just months earlier. Remember, Kane continued, his voice carrying to every human defender across the globe, they came here expecting to find slaves. Instead, they found the one species in the galaxy too stubborn to know when they're beaten. Fire at will. The coordinated strike that erupted from Earth's surface was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. 47 quantum energy beams lanced into space simultaneously, each one precisely calculated to overwhelm Korvac shielding through coordinated frequency modulation. But the humans hadn't just copied alien technology, they had weaponized Their own Ingenuity. The energy beams carried quantum viruses designed by Earth's best computer scientists, programs that would infiltrate Korvac computer systems and turn their own technology against them. They carried gravitational distortion fields that Dr. Park's team had discovered could destabilize alien fusion reactors. Most devastating of all, they carried something the Korvac had never encountered: pure human spite refined into a weapon. Admiral Krau watched in horror as his flagship shields failed under the coordinated assault. All vessels return fire. Destroy every energy source on that planet. But the Korvac response was chaotic, uncoordinated, each ship acting independently while the humans fought as a single organism. When the Imperial destroyer's main guns fired at the North American continent, 17 different planetary defense stations shifted their targeting to protect the threatened installations, their combined firepower overloading the battleship's weapon systems. Admiral! His tactical officer screamed over the sound of exploding consoles. The humans aren't just coordinating their attacks, they're adapting to our targeting patterns in real time. They're learning faster than we can adjust. Deep beneath the Sahara Desert, Dr. Park watched her latest creation power up for its first combat test. She had dubbed it Pandora's Box, and the theoretical specifications suggested it could do something no weapon in galactic history had ever achieved. It could learn. The weapon didn't just fire energy, it fired possibility itself, quantum algorithms that would analyze Korvac defenses and modify themselves mid-flight to exploit whatever weakness they discovered. It was artificial intelligence weaponized, human creativity given the power to reshape reality at the quantum level. Target the flagship, Park commanded. Let's show them what happens when you pick a fight with a species that turns problems into solutions. Pandora's Box fired once, sending a stream of adaptive quantum energy toward Imperial destroyer. The beam struck the ship's shields and immediately began analyzing their frequency patterns, molecular composition, and power distribution. Within milliseconds, it had rewritten its own quantum structure to match the exact resonance needed to pass through the shields harmlessly, and then exploded inside the ship's hull with the force of a small star. Imperial destroyer broke apart in a cascade of secondary explosions, taking Admiral Krau and 3,000 Korvac warriors with it. The remaining 11 ships of the battle fleet found themselves facing an enemy that grew stronger with every exchange. Each shot they fired was analyzed, countered, and turned into information that made the next human response more devastating. Each tactical maneuver was predicted and neutralized by defenders who shared their knowledge instantaneously across the entire planet. Fleet Commander Corps to all vessels came the panicked transmission from the surviving ships. Immediate withdrawal. The humans have achieved technological superiority. Retreat to jump distance. But as the Korvac fleet tried to flee, they discovered humanity's final surprise. The quantum communication networks that had allowed perfect coordination of Earth's defenses had been modified into something unprecedented. A planetary-scale quantum computer that could calculate hyperspace jump vectors and disrupt them, one by one. The fleeing Korvac ships found their escape routes blocked by gravitational anomalies that appeared precisely where their jump calculations predicted safe space. They were trapped in a system they had come to conquer, hunted by a species they had dismissed as primitive. By dawn, Earth skies were clear of alien ships. The Korvac Empire's invasion fleet was nothing but expanding clouds of debris orbiting a world that had refused to die. And in underground facilities across the globe, humanity began planning their next move. The quantum transmission reached the furthest edges of the galaxy within days, carrying a message that would reshape galactic civilization forever. It wasn't sent by the Korvac Empire. Their communication networks had been thoroughly infiltrated by human quantum viruses. Instead, it came from Earth itself, broadcast on frequencies that every spacefaring species would detect. To all intelligences within range of this transmission came the clear, steady voice of General Kane, speaking for his entire species. This is Earth Sol System, Orion Arm. The Korvac Empire has been defeated. Their invasion fleets have been destroyed. Any species considering aggressive action against humanity should be advised. We do not surrender. We do not submit, and we do not forgive unprovoked attacks. But to those who come in peace, You will find no more loyal allies in the galaxy. The message was accompanied by detailed technical specifications of human-developed weapon systems, tactical recordings of the battles, and most shocking of all, complete mathematical proofs showing how humanity had achieved technological advancement in weeks that should have taken millennia. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations that had never heard of Earth suddenly found themselves studying the species that had accomplished the impossible. In the Altarian council chambers, Ambassador Tell studied the battle recordings with growing amazement. They coordinated planetary defenses involving 7 billion individuals, he reported to the assembled delegates. Every human facility shared information instantaneously. They fought as a single organism while maintaining individual creativity and innovation. Such unity should be impossible. The Crystalline Collective, a species that existed as networked intelligence, was even more astounded. Through their quantum resonance chambers, they analyzed humanity's communication networks and discovered something unprecedented: total information sharing without loss of individuality. The humans had achieved what the collective considered the ultimate evolution of consciousness. They have surpassed us, admitted Prime Crystal Car, its harmonic voice carrying undertones of awe. They achieved in crisis what we required 10,000 years to develop. We must study these humans. But it was the response from the Korvac Empire's capital world that truly revealed how completely the balance of power had shifted. Emperor Vrak himself appeared on galactic communication networks, his scaled features showing submission patterns that hadn't been seen in 3 centuries of imperial dominance. To the human species of Earth, he transmitted, his voice carrying across space to the world that had humbled his empire. The Korvac acknowledge our error. We came as conquerors and found ourselves facing an opponent beyond our understanding. We formally request ... negotiations. The response came not from Earth's military leadership, but from Dr. Park, speaking from her laboratory beneath the Antarctic ice. Her voice was calm, professional, but carried an undertone of steel that made it clear she was speaking for a species that had been pushed too far. The humans will consider negotiations, she said. But understand this: we are no longer the species you thought you could easily conquer. Every day since your arrival, we have grown stronger. Our technology now surpasses yours in key areas. Our unity makes us functionally invincible. And our memory is very, very long. She paused, allowing her words to reach every corner of the galaxy before continuing. However, humanity has always believed in the possibility of redemption. Send ambassadors unarmed, and we will discuss terms. But never again mistake our willingness to talk for weakness. We have learned to reach beyond our own solar system now, and we will not hesitate to demonstrate our capabilities if threatened again. The implications were staggering. In less than 3 months, humanity had evolved from a primitive species confined to a single world into a galactic power capable of projecting force across interstellar distances. The quantum communication networks that had enabled their planetary defense were already being modified for faster-than-light transmission. The weapons that had destroyed the Korvac fleets were being scaled up for installation on spacecraft that existed only in theoretical blueprints for now. But perhaps most terrifying to potential enemies was the revelation of how humanity had achieved these advances. They hadn't just copied alien technology, they had improved it through something no other species possessed: the absolute determination to turn every setback into an opportunity for growth. Within a year, human exploration vessels would reach neighboring star systems. Within 5 years, human colonies would dot the galaxy. Within a generation, the phrase human space would be spoken with the same respect once reserved for the great galactic empires. The species that had been dismissed as fragile primitives had become something unprecedented in galactic history: a unified civilization that combined individual creativity with collective purpose, turning their supposed weaknesses into strengths that no empire could match. And in her laboratory beneath the ice, Dr. Park smiled as she began work on her next project: a faster-than-light communication array that would connect human settlements across the galaxy. They had proven themselves against one enemy, but the galaxy was vast and full of potential threats. Humanity was ready for all of them. The universe had wanted to know what made humans special. Now it would spend the next 1,000 years learning the answer. When pushed to the edge of extinction, humanity doesn't just survive, it evolves, adapts, and emerges stronger than ever before. The age of human expansion had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.